Imagine being one of the most visible heirs in the world. Every handshake is photographed. Every smile is analyzed. Every donor is researched. Now imagine one of those donors is suddenly linked, even indirectly, to Jeffrey Epstein. That is the position Prince William finds himself in right now. Not at a ceremony, not cutting a ribbon, but under a microscope. The Earthshot Prize was launched as William's defining project. Bold, ambitious, future-focused. A global competition rewarding breakthrough climate solutions. It wasn't meant to be ceremonial charity work. It was positioned as impact-driven leadership. Heads of state showed up. Celebrities endorsed it. Investors poured money into it. It looked polished and powerful. For years, it strengthened William's image as the modern heir. Serious about the environment, engaged with global issues, stepping into leadership with confidence. Now there are questions. Reports have linked an Earthshot donor to alleged connections with Jeffrey Epstein. The moment that name enters a headline, the temperature rises. Epstein's network touched politicians, financiers, royalty, billionaires. Even distant associations trigger intense scrutiny. So when critics saw the donor link, they moved quickly. The reaction has split public opinion. Some argue large global charities inevitably interact with wealthy, complex figures. That doesn't imply endorsement of wrongdoing. Others argue that when your personal brand is tied so tightly to a foundation, you carry responsibility for every financial relationship connected to it. That tension is the heart of this moment. William did not build Earthshot as a passive royal patronage. He built it as a flagship initiative. His name is front and center. His credibility is attached to it. So even if he had no personal involvement in donor selection, the optics land squarely on him, and optics matter. The monarchy has spent decades managing image carefully. Stability, responsibility, duty. William, in particular, has cultivated a reputation for calm, steady leadership, especially compared to turbulence elsewhere in the royal orbit. This controversy brushes up against that carefully maintained perception. Social media has amplified everything. Commentators are asking, what due diligence was done? How are donors vetted? Who signs off on major funding decisions? Anti-monarchy voices are using the moment to question elite accountability more broadly. Behind the noise is a bigger issue. Public trust. Charities function on credibility. Once doubts appear, even indirectly, they can linger. Earthshot's mission, climate innovation, depends on global partnerships and public goodwill. If people begin to question its funding ethics, that complicates everything. But this isn't only a reputational risk. It is also a leadership test. If William and his team address the situation with transparency, clarifying governance structures, reinforcing ethical standards, strengthening oversight, this could reinforce the image he has worked to build. Leaders are often defined less by the absence of controversy and more by how they respond when it appears. The broader context matters too. The Epstein scandal remains sensitive and emotionally charged. Survivors' stories still shape public discussion. Any perceived proximity to that network triggers strong reactions. For a royal institution that has already faced scrutiny in related contexts, even indirect connections demand careful handling. There is also a structural reality. Global philanthropy operates in elite circles. Wealthy donors frequently overlap across industries and institutions. Untangling networks perfectly is difficult. The question becomes whether safeguards are strong enough and whether they are communicated clearly to the public. Silence can be interpreted as strategy. It can also be interpreted as avoidance. A decisive, visible response shifts the narrative. A slow or vague one allows speculation to grow. Right now, Earthshot stands at a crossroads. It was introduced as a beacon for climate optimism. This controversy tests whether that beacon can withstand reputational headwinds. For William, the stakes are larger than one donor. They touch on long-term credibility, on his evolution from heir to eventual monarch, on whether his leadership style is perceived as transparent and modern, or insulated and traditional. Moments like this rarely determine a legacy on their own, but they contribute to it. Public memory accumulates patterns. Accountability, when demonstrated clearly, strengthens trust. Ambiguity weakens it. This story is still unfolding. The next moves matter more than the initial headline. Governance clarity, ethical reinforcement, visible standards. Those are the tools that shape how this chapter ends. Keep watching how it develops. The response will reveal far more than the controversy itself.